My name is Ali Latifi. I'm a journalist in Afghanistan. I've been here throughout the coronavirus pandemic. Um, and the way that COVID has affected everyone in Afghanistan is quite interesting. So, about mid March is when the lockdowns began, and they lasted about 2.5 months. But even in that time, because there's so many economic problems in this country, a lot of people weren't able to abide by the lockdown. So that means people who are daily wage workers, money exchangers, people who have small like shops and bodegas, people who are like shoe shiners and shoe cobblers, or who do daily work as painters and carpenters and things like that. They were essentially on the street the whole time. Even taxis were on the street the whole time because there are no real proper social services in this country. So people had no choice but to continue working as much as they could. Obviously, people in offices, they were quarantined. They were told to stay home, and they tried to stay home as much as they could. And then around mid-June or so is when the lockdown started to ease and ease and ease. And now we're at a point where for the last few months, life is completely back to normal in Afghanistan. The restaurants are open, wedding halls are reopened. There are people having weddings with 1,000, 2,000 people in one wedding hall. Schools reopened, universities reopened. There was a film festival with a major opening and major closing ceremony. There were government led events that had hundreds of people in attendance. So for whatever reason, in Afghanistan, life really seems to have returned to normal very quickly. That's not to say that people didn't get sick, because in that span of the actual lockdown, so from mid-March to about mid-June, there were thousands and thousands of people who got sick. And everyone you spoke to, every household, you know, if not the entire household, then several people in that household got sick. And almost every family that they buried at least one person. You would talk to them, you would see them on the street, and they would say, we're going to bury this relative or that relative. And I think now it's to the point where obviously economically people need to get back to work and get back to normal life, even more well-to-do people. And then also I think there's the feeling that everyone who was going to get it got it, and those who survived, and they literally saw that they survived, that this wasn't the death sentence that they were assuming. And those who did pass away, unfortunately, did pass away, and people now feel as if they just have to return to normal. They just have to return to their lives. So it's very different from the rest of the world. And the one other thing that I will say about the lockdown period is that, again, it's different from the rest of the world, because in other parts of the world, you at least had green spaces, you had parks and walking trails and things like that you could go to, or beaches, where you could keep a social distance. Here, unfortunately, we don't have any of those things. So people were really just relegated to their houses. And we're talking about houses where everyone from the grandparents to the grandchildren all live in the same house. And, there isn't 24-hour electricity. So it's not as if you can just easily just constantly binge Netflix. That's the other thing, is there isn't necessarily reliable, quality, high-speed internet. So it really took a toll on people physically, economically, and socially. And so I think all of those things combined is why Afghanistan has been able to go back to normal life so quickly when compared to the rest of the world.